Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to ERA and welcome to the Sunday Championship. Round 6, as we here at the beautiful circuit of Valencia. We're in for an absolute treat, and that is going to be drivers fighting it out as hard as they can in some of the most die-hard racing. Looking to score the points here for the last 2 rounds of the Sunday Championship. My name is Stephen Koenig. I'm glad to have you all here. Taking a look over to our virtual grandstands. We've got Antonio Gamble going and rejoining us. A good welcome to you. Fastest to the button, though, is Ruan Heineke going and enjoying for all the Griffin Sim Racing team and Team Sarko. Also going and representing. Big welcome to you all. So far, we are just getting ready to stand to get going. We're just waiting for all the drivers to make their way out of pit lane, and we will be then cutting over to the track to get going. So far, a little bit of an issue of getting all those cars out, but our officials are hard at work to get it sorted out. But with that being said, let's go through the running order of the championship, because that is where the meat of this is going to go. And we're going to take a look at our golds that have been, so far, putting on a fantastic show. We cannot count out the big changes that have been going on, where our gold division has been fighting off against our diamond class drivers. So, taking a look, it's Miles Stone leading out the championship with 67 points. David Roth in second place with 61 points, hoping that he can get a little bit closer. Marco Vigo in third place with 48 points. Aaron Shingle with 43 points, as he's trying to have a go right for the position. Finn Van Holland in 5th. John Spriggs running in 6th place, followed by Ulrich Diaga, Patrick Miles, David Young, and Federico Colgero in 10th. Moving on to our platinums, it's Tomo Malami that's leading out the pack, hoping to really score some big points here at the beautiful circuit of Valencia. He actually enjoys the circuit, so it's been a lot more comforting in the car, and he's hoping that he can take it to the top of the order. Followed by that, we got David Boschke, Martin Spritzer, Lucas Collard, Paul Finter in 5th place, along with Chris Wall, Lewis Knight, Sebastian Lucasen, and Nicholas Cora and Nico Lawrence. Chris Wall coming after a big jump up through the order. He was quite happy with the results in the previous race. Looking at our diamonds, Christoph Peterson leading out the field on 76 points. Ben Hicks with 58 points, only 2 points away from Ernest Lundberg's in 3rd. Jens Olsen running in 4th. David Schuden in 5th. Sean Skitter, Jason Farmer, Stephen Milano, James Glenn Smith, and Ruan Heineke, who we saw going and having a chat to us, going and running in that top 10. Matthias Milso only 2 points behind in our diamonds. That is going to be an absolutely wild one. With that being said, though, folks, we're going to be cutting over to the circuit here at Valencia, a very twisty track that is going to push our drivers that little bit more. Who can keep the tires alive? That is the big question that's going to be roaming around on a beautiful day. And so far, keep an eye out on turn 1. The likes of Curva Aspar is always where drivers tend to run a little bit wide. But let's cut down to the track. Let's get all the meat, all the action, and bring in some of that absolutely beautiful noise as we do watch our cars currently around in free practice, trying to get some heat into it. We got Tomo Malami that's going to be running out at the front and putting some times in. Tomo Malami also going and sporting the likes of our onboard system that will be having a bit of fun in there, so we'll catch a good glimpse of Tomo Malami, who is going to be one of our top drivers to keep an eye out for, hoping to go and take the platinum class this time round. It's going to be a lot of hard work on doing so. So keep an eye out for this Lexus. It's going to be a wild one. Also going to be sporting a few new little features in the run, including a new feature of split times. We'll be able to pick up sectors during the courses of the race. See Sector 1, 2, and 3. Going to be running through and hopefully giving us a little bit more of a shot. Maybe just bringing the color a bit more into effect would be a nice option there. Let's see if we can try and get that. We've got Tim frantic on the background while we've got just a little bit of time to get everything all in order. Thank you very much, Tim, for just doing a bit of hard work in the back. So, that being said, drivers are going to have to push that a little bit harder, see where they're going to go, and who is going to be able to fight their way up through the order. It's going to be a tough time, though. Many of the drivers will have to look at trying to get that little bit more pace on their top running order, and hopefully will be looking for those top spots. Fastest lap time so far, Rich Van Heerden managing a 1:32. Stephen Milano James getting into the 1:31s as drivers start to pick up the pace here at the beautiful circuit and looking to really set the world ablaze, hoping that they can be the next top running order. Christoph Peterson is going to be our one to keep an eye out for as well, leading out the pack, hoping that he can really take the top running order. It's going to be a hard fight for him, though, to ensure that he keeps in for it. And currently leading out our diamonds. Lots and lots of pressure on the multiple champion as he maneuvers his way around the circuit. So 5 minutes left before we kick off the racing. And let's get a little bit of an onboard of what's happening from our helmet cam, and also give us a bit of a sense of what's going on. So around the final corner they go, down to, they're going to be heading off to the long straight. So this is midway through the circuit, fourth gear in the 488. It's also about traffic that is going to be a problem for drivers to be able to keep themselves in the running order. How far are they willing to go? That is going to be the big question. How far are you willing to push is going to be the next one for everyone to work their way through. Ruben Heineke saying, how's it from South Africa? Good to have you. One of our drivers here from South Africa going and representing in the world of ERA here on a Sunday evening, and a bit of a chilly one out there in South Africa. But let's take a look at our corners as we head down towards turn 1 on board with the likes of Christoph Peterson of Bad Brains. So into turn 1 is Aspar. Got to carry it right the way around. Don't go and fire enough with those track limits. Down into Duon, hard braking zone that you have to be on the inside. Don't want to be stuck on the outside, you'll lose too much time. Turn 3 is a little bit tricky, and as you can see, being a double right-hander. Turn 4 into Turrell, and back on the power, feeding it all the way through into turn 5. A little bit of fights on the steering wheel, trying to pick up every little bit of pace out there. It's 19 degrees, so it's a bit cold into Nito. As turn 6 opens up, you've got to be very cautious not to go and run too far into the green, otherwise you'll land up getting that track limit. Into turn 8 is hard braking, keeping it nice and tight. The apex is very, very late on the way through. Turn 9 is a little bit of a lift into fourth gear, down to second, down to first, into 11. Hard on the throttle on the exit, trying to get as much drive as possible. Slipstreaming is going to be a bit of a problem to deal with. Got to keep it nice and wide though. Double right-hander, turn 12, turn 13 is always tricky, as you could see. Those little sausage curbs can bounce you around into turn 14, Campos, and this is where you line it up to get on the power, and unfortunately is where the slipstream will start to go and eat into the drivers as they maneuver their way around this circuit. Ben Hicks currently running in second place with our free practice as we get ready to rock and roll. Jens Nelson running in third, hoping to try and get a little bit more pace underneath him and stay in for the fight. So far, we've seen some good racing with Jens Nelson, but let's go back a little bit where Jens Nelson was actually in a fight for second place at Indianapolis when it all went wrong. Dived on the inside of Ben Hicks, got a little bit of contact between the two of them that cost their second place. Christoph Peterson was able to snatch it up in a heartbeat. Stephen Milano James out in fourth place. David Schutten hoping to fight it out for the ERA Highway Patrol. David Bolsky of the Track Tool team is in for a fight. And that also does bring in a very, very good point. Team standings so far, it is the Cyber Racing Multech team that will be running out ahead of the field with 235 points. So they're going to be followed up by the ERA Highway Patrol in second place, 218 points. Then the Stunt Possum Racing that will be fighting it out. And Miles Stone been leading that championship out. Had a stellar run last Sunday, looking to really put an impact once again. Griffin Sim Racing currently running in fourth place. They're going to be quite happy to try and score some points. They're on 182 points, only 4 points. They are on 186 points. And Stunt Possum running in third is on 210. Logistical Nightmare Racing runs in fifth place, hoping to score some big runs here. Chris Wall, along with his teammate Paul Fenter, want to try and get themselves back into title contention. The pedal files, those are all the pedals that you go and have on your sim rigs. Running in sixth place with Cyber Racing Arushka, Black Lung Bandits, followed by Los Pontos Hermanos Worldwide Track Tool Team, running in 10th position. Manufacturer standings at the moment, though, goes towards the Ferrari. The Ferrari teams have been scoring 550 points, leading out the pack, but they are getting chased down by the Lexus, and that is going to be a big key point to keep an eye out for. So the drivers are going to have to really move their way forward. Lamborghini running in third, the Fords running in fourth, followed by Honda, BMW, Mercedes, Aston Martin, McLaren, Porsche, Nissan, Bentley, and Audi. So we got 3 different divisions of drivers. We have got a team standings that's also on the fight. Plus, we have got a manufacturer. That's 5 championships running per race that you're going to have to contend with. Anything is possible. And it's all about those tight racing title contentions to move your way in for the fight. And that is where we start to get a bit tricky. So we're just waiting for our free practice to end up, and we'll head down for a little bit of qualifying and see the drivers fight it out for title contention. A big welcome to you all. Welcome to Valencia. It is absolutely fantastic to have you here. 19 degrees track temperature, 19 degrees in terms of our air temperature. That's going to change things up as we get underway with a beautiful Valencia qualifying for round 6 of the ERA Sunday Championship. Hope you're wearing your Sunday best because we're in for a great one. It's going to be a wild one, and we get ready for some action. So as we head down towards qualifying and see everyone getting ready and underway to put in those absolute banging lap times, we had a glimpse in the free practice of drivers getting into the 131s, and that is going to be the wild race of note. Who's going to be able to pull that off? That's going to be the big question for everyone who's going to be able to move their way up through the order. Tom Malami was first out the box of the Lexus for the Cyber Racing. He's hoping to make a bit of an impact here. Ben Hicks will be chasing him down. You'll notice that drivers will start to just warm up their brakes and tires by doing a little bit of brake drag, a little bit of weaving. A lot of flat-out power, though, being utilized just to try and get to grips with the racing line. They'll give each other a little bit of room, not too much, though. You don't want to slow it down too much on the train and land up bottling yourself up. So you've got to be very cautious on it. Going through our number boards, we have our white number boards. That is our diamonds. Our silvers are our platinum. And our reds are our gold drivers. Keep an eye on it, though, because not necessarily those go and dictate how the drivers are. So far, we've seen some proper growth from our golds and platinums to fight it out in the diamond classes and makes things rather interesting. There's also been a good show from the Fords in terms of pure straight line horsepower that makes all the difference as qualifying is underway and drivers start to put their time down. Paul Scavaris of Black Lung Bandits in the Marlboro colors, Porsche 992 GT3R, hoping to get a good run at this point. He's got Nico Lawrence that will be hoping to also have a clear run. They had a difficult qualifying out in Indianapolis and already going out a bit wide. And unfortunately, that is going to take away the time as they start to push it a little bit harder. Ruben Heidecke of Team Sarko and Griffin Sim Racing fighting it out, has been on a clear charge that he wants to get ahead of Jason Farmer. They worked together a little bit, but unfortunately lost a lot of time. Out on Thursday, they landed up at another league where they fought each other to all of everything out at Spa, with Ruan Heineke having to really figure out what he can do to get the run. As drivers put their foot down, everyone hoping to start getting those times on the board and seeing where they can filter out. Ben Hicks currently the first one to put a time on the board with a 1:31.07, along with Tomo Malami. Jason Farmer running in third. Lewis Knight with a 1:32 and going and getting beaten out as Nicholas Cora out of the McLaren, not holding back. David Roth putting a time in with the full 8.8 Ferrari, hoping that he's going to have a bit of a clearer run as they're going after that 1:31.017. David Roth being the closest, but having to really dig deep to find half a second. Martin Spritzer puts time on the board, hoping that he can also take the fight to the sharp end of the field. Aaron Schigel, who has been there for the Cyber Racing, out from Canada, not going to be holding back his ways. He's going to be properly hammering on in for that 13th position. Let's get into the top 10 and join the rest of the teammates on the way through. Christoph Peterson putting the first time into the 1:30.6. Runs out a bit wide, though, in through turn 1 as he gets chased down by Chris Wall. So times getting quicker and quicker. Rollins Priggs, one of our Black Lung Bandits, going and fighting it out. Good to see him out on track, lying in 20th at the moment, trying to pick up the pace. The BMW M4 GT3 does take about 2 laps for it to settle down and get back into the running order. John Spriggs a little bit further down in 29th for Wise Racing in the Honda NSX. Going to be fighting it out, hoping that it's going to make a big difference here. 35 cars lining the field as we get closer and closer to the end of the championship. David Broski puts time on the board, following in the slipstream of Paul Fenter for the Track Tool team. So going and utilizing a little bit of tactical advantage here. Got into 5th. David Roth puts time into the 1:31.04. Still not close enough for Christoph Peterson's 1:30.622. Hoping that he can really put the hammer down as we do bring up our split times. Give us a bit of an understanding of what's happening out here. Tomo Malami, unfortunately, down on the running orders, trying to pick up some pace at the moment. He's in 9th place and hoping to get right ahead of Nicholas Cora and Broski at the moment. And we've got the likes of Carl Heinz, who's put in an absolute banger, put himself into 9th place, running out a little bit wide in that Ford Mustang, but hoping that he can keep the momentum going. Miles Stone, once again, will be chasing down for the win, but David Roth is his target, lying in 4th place. The two Americans are doing everything they can, and at the moment, got Indy 500 running in the background while racing. Just keep an eye on what is going on. And Schigel getting some great support out in the virtual grandstands by I do apologize if I get this wrong. Polando Ski going and having a bit of fun out there. Good to see you out in the virtual grandstands, guys. Having a lot of fun. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Ruan Heineke making his way through. He's just out of that top 10. Trying to pick up the pace so far. 0.1 up on his personal best. Down in Sector 1. Down in Sector 3. Trying to find that little bit more. Currently 0.2 up on his personal best, running in the 1:31s, hoping that he can really make the impact here and will be giving everything they can to power their way through. It's going to be a tough one, though. Carl Heinz, great running for him, trying to pick up, got it 0.3 up on his personal best. Christian Fengler out and fighting. Sector 1, Sector 2 seems to be great, but running into a little bit of traffic is costing him time. He's 0.3 up and will need to really give it everything he's got if he wants to try and get towards that top 15 as he keeps aiming for. Skirt Reynolds currently also 0.1 up on his personal best as they come through. And Chris Wall just lying in 8th. Going to be able to keep going. Otherwise, he will drop out of that top 10 and not what you want to do. Oh, just going and landing into the dirt. No improvement, unfortunately, and we'll have to wait it out. Jason Farmer, 0.2 up on his personal best, trying to get the power down as Stephen Milano James comes across and puts himself into second place. Ahead of Ben Hicks, David Schuton, and along with David Roth in fifth, who is still giving everything he's got. Leading out the gold division, Nicholas Cora leading out the platinum, will be happy with it. And David Roth up into second place, only 0.4. Christoph Peterson's personal best of a 130.4. So this is just getting absolutely wild out there. Drivers hoping they can really make a bit of an impact here. But Christoph Peterson has been on a proper charge and will be once again trying to break it down into the 29s. Ruben Heineke, 0.1 up on his personal best as drivers starting to feel that traffic. Rich van Heerden going to also be battling out down in 22nd position, 0.1 up on his personal best, utilizing the slipstream from the Nissan GTR, hoping that that's going to pull him in a little bit closer. Don't think it's going to be what he wants it to be, unfortunately. Not close enough for it to make a bit of an impact. And Lewis Knight in that Nissan GTR, slowly but surely dialing the pace in, figuring out where the grip is and where he can utilize all the power that he has come to know from the car, especially in this very cold conditions as they battle their way through. Standing on the power, running 0.1 over his personal best. Isn't going to be enough though. Charging through, down the back straight he goes, opens a corner up quite a bit. Currently running 0.1, can he lift himself into the top 20? He's able to move himself into 30th position, but not able to get any higher than that. Jens Nelson will be also looking to dig deep, currently in 15th position, along with Miles Stone, who's going to come across the line. Miles Stone needs to get a bit closer to the top running of the likes of Gold, and he does so. Second of the Golds at the moment, running in 8th place. He's going to be quite happy with that time. Jen Nelson, 0.3 up on his personal best. Sector 1 and Sector 2, along with Sector 3, have been a personal run for him, but now needs to beat his personal best of a 131.5. He's 0.5 up on his personal best, giving it everything he's got, powering his way through, and will come across the line to move himself up into 4th place. Going to be happy with that. Christoph Peterson currently doing his best times out there up in the sectors. He needs to keep putting power down if he wants to break the pace and really get a little bit closer. Ernest Sundbergs, who has got a bone to pick around this circuit. He's hoping to score some huge points. Last 4 minutes of qualifying, though, wants to be starting with the advantage into turn 1 to try and force a situation to happen for the likes of Peterson to run out wide and start landing up, falling down the field. Ernest Sundbergs comes across the line. He's able to go 0.2 up on his personal best. Sector 1 and Sector 3 were a great gain, but only able to do a 130.4. Still needs to try and dig a little bit deep to catch up to that 134.57, where he's got a 134.87. And new fastest lap as Christoph Peterson once again chips it down to a 130.2. Sector 1 and Sector 2 he was up. Sector 3 lost a little bit of time there. That's going and dropping him out of getting that 129, that elusive 129. Jet Nelson up into 7th. Nicholas Cora down into 8th place as it stands. Last time was up in Sector 2, was down in Sector 1 and 3 due to traffic. You can see how busy it is getting out on the circuit there. Drivers are having to figure out where can they just find that optimum line. Where can they find the grip at the moment, as the track is rather cool. And the last thing you want to do is get caught into a little bit of a error wash as John Spriggs moves out of the way for Nicholas Cora, who wants to ensure he holds the front running order. Disappears off our camera though. There's Nicholas Cora running out a bit wide, and unfortunately going to have to really stand on the power as much as possible to break away. He doesn't want David Borschke starting anywhere close to him. So far, David Roth holding that 4th place milestone in 9th as the running goes. Federico Calgero trying to improve, unfortunately, lap after lap, just not finding that clean air. David Walshke, though, however, comes across the line, 0.1, moves into the top 10. Stephen Milano James utilizing the slipstream of David Roth at the moment, utilizing that 488 to try and pull the 296 across the line, and does so, going and leapfrogging ahead with a 130.837, beating out David Roth's time of a 130.88. So the newer Ferrari managing just to do it, and the slipstream coming into effect big time. Paul Skirts trying to make his way around the circuit, hoping that he can do everything he can. And great support coming in for Aaron Schigel down in the 27th position. And I've got to say, rather exciting to see. And I absolutely love it from the virtual grandstands. A huge, huge support that comes in for the drivers that are putting their hearts and souls into the sport, trying to get that little bit more. Once again, having a great time out there, putting on a great show for all the spectators, but at the same time, going and having the support goes and gives them that little bit of an edge over the competition. Mentally, it challenges them to push that little bit harder as, say, our sim racing athletes go and fight their way through. Ben Hicks currently 0.2 up on his personal best. He was down in all 3 sectors on the last lap. Can he go and get himself back to the 137 that he originally started? He did a 141 due to the traffic that he ran in and trying to stand on the power with only 39 seconds left of qualifying. David Broschke up into the top 10, trying to get himself back up and going as cars coming across the line will be setting their final times. 25 seconds to go. Ben Hicks for the ERA Highway Patrol trying to push that a little bit harder. Will come across the line. Can he get into second place with the BMW? Comes across with a 130.650. Personal best, but not quite to knock off the likes of Ernest Lindbergh's. Stephen Milano James, 0.1 up on his personal best, along with Tomo Malami as the 2ID team, moving out of the way of Tomo, who's running in 6th place, trying to get to Nicholas Cora. David Roth holding 7th, miles away from Miles Stone, and will be away from Scavaris, who's starting out 3rd of the golds. He's going to be quite happy on that one, because this would be his first time actually starting 3rd of the golds in through the series. So fantastic to see the development coming in from our drivers across the board. Everyone hoping to put in the top times. Christoph Peterson, Ernest Lundbergs have all come across the line. Nicholas Cora has come across the line. Jason Farmer will be next. As you can see, the pit's getting rather full. Rob van der Heever going and putting in a good time. And Jason Farmer just knocked out of that top 10. Stephen Milano James will be the next one to come through behind David Roth as they accelerate across the line. Stephen Milano James, 0.1 up, moves himself into 4th ahead of Nicholas Cora, going and locking out the pros for the top 4. And Nicholas Cora a little bit closer to Tomo Malami. Paul Fenter will come across the line, one of the few cars left onto the track. Gets a 131.3 and will be starting in 18th position. So drivers are at the ready and waiting for their chance to score big here for round 6 of the ERA Sunday Championship. And it's going to be an exciting one, folks, because maximizing points is necessary. When we get to the final round, that's it. No drop rounds are required. This is your last chance for a drop round to work in your favor. And unfortunately, if you manage to get a drop round earlier on, you have to maximize every point here tonight at the beautiful track of Valencia. A big, big welcome to you all, and a big welcome to all our virtual grandstands. It's fantastic to have you here for ERA. It's beautiful to have you guys here at Valencia, where it is quite warming up, 19 degrees, but lights were starting to come on, starting to get a bit darker out there, and unfortunately that is going to challenge our drivers a little bit more handling the different conditions. Now, here at ERA, we like to go and make things a bit interesting, teaching you how to do it. Let's go through. Hungaroring was just nice sunny day that you can enjoy. Kota, completely wet. Then we had the likes of Donington Park, which was extremely hot for the drivers to contend with. Silverstone, that's a race at night, trying to pick up their apexes, find their brake markers, and not get caught out. Indianapolis was absolutely ice cold. Drivers had to try and work on maintaining heat in their tires all the way through. And here at Valencia, they'll have to deal with the dusk before we move on to the final round next weekend. Will be a 90-minute, 2 pit stops, and conditions unknown. So drivers are going to be trying to contend with everything at the moment to figure out what is going to work for them here at the beautiful track of Valencia, and to ensure that the ERA Championship will sway in their favor. So let's go down to the grid and take a look at the drivers. Now, if it's your first time here, a massive welcome. Where have you been? It has been a season and a half full of highs, lows, dramatic fashion, and we will be seeing drivers focusing on their next run. So, you also take a look that there is penalties being applied. Thinking, why? Why would there be penalties? Well, let me give you the hint. The drivers get success penalties. If you came first in your class, you get 15 seconds. You came second in your class, you get 10 seconds. And if you came third, you get 5 seconds. How this all works is to try and bring the field a lot closer to one another instead of having cars running away. Meaning, you're going to have to think of how to close up the gaps. How are you going to serve your success penalty during your pit stop? That is mandatory, and ensure that you finish out ahead of the rest of the field. That goes and tests the faster drivers. Instead of just outright pace, you're going to have to get a little bit technical on where you're going to go. How far are you willing to push? And where is going to be the right time? That comes down to practice. So, as you can see, Ernest Lundbergs, who went and finished out in first, will sit with a 5-second penalty. Stephen Milano James in second will get 10 who's in fourth will get 10 seconds. Christoph Peterson, who finished third, will get 5 seconds on the board. You got the likes of David Roth, got himself 10 seconds he has to contend with after finishing behind Milestone at Indianapolis, and Paul Scavaris getting 5 seconds added to him on his debut outing. Really done a fantastic job. Chris Wall with a 10-second after scoring big at the likes of Indianapolis. Tom Malami's got 15 seconds, and Nicholas Cora, finishing up third, will have 5 seconds on the board. 36 cars lined up on the line, 1 mandatory pit stop, an hour's worth of racing for the drivers to really step up their game, to try and figure out where is it all going to work. And you can just take a look as we head over to Tim in our helicopter, giving us a beautiful shot of the grid as they get ready to rock and roll. So I hope you guys are ready all around the world. This is where the fastest in the world come to join and learn. Here at ERA, we love to teach, we love to show, we love to test. And so far, what better way than to have world-class drivers in a set of Corsa Competizione lining up on the grid from every part of the world to duke it out. Whether you're out in the UK, whether you're out in Africa, whether you're out in America, whether you're out in Europe, we have got a driver representing to have some fun here at ERA that's going to push themselves with the Sunday Championship. Being the second last round, though, all is to play for. Drivers are going to have to figure out their next steps. How far is it going to go to get towards the sharp end of the field? And not only are they going to be battling out for the honors of winning here at Valencia, but they will be able to go and tackle the front end of the field. Big wins here is necessary. So far, our top 10 have all had a shot at winning this season. everyone needs to try and push themselves a little bit more. Miles Stone, who had the best qualifying last race, starts from 11th position, hoping to recreate the magic here at Valencia. As we get ready to go, drivers start to move their way off the line, and let's head over to our grid walk here at the ERA Sunday Championship. And kicking it off out in first place is going to be Christoph Peterson, followed by Ernest Lundbergs. Ben Hicks in third place, Stephen Milano James running in fourth, Nicholas Cora in fifth, Tomo Milani in sixth place, followed by David Roth, Jens Nelson and David Schutten run in ninth place. David Rorschke rounding out our top 10. Starting from 11th position, Miles Stone, followed by Jason Farmer, Rich van Eerde, Ruan Heineke as the South Africans hoping to fight it out. Paul Scothers going to be battling in the Porsche, has been a proper contention to go and deal with. They've got Chris Wall chasing him down, Scott Reynolds and Paul Fenter in 18th, followed by Federico Calgero, Martin Spritzer, John Spriggs, Finley Gamble, Nico Lawrence, Carl Hines, David Young, Ulrich Diago, Aaron Schenkel down in 27th position with Ronald Priggs, Christian Fingler in 29th position, Lewis Knight in 30th, Cedric Muir in 31st, followed by Finn van Holland, Nicholas Porras, Gerrit van Janssen van Vuren, Rob van der Heever, and rounding out the pack, Sebastian Ribison. So, drivers lining themselves up. Christoph Peterson will be starting the field out and hoping to get a good run to beat out the likes of Ernest Lundbergs into turn one. Don't count out Ben Hicks though. His starts have so far been quite dramatic to go for those early lunges and get it done and dusted. And a little bit further back, Nicholas Cora hoping to get his way towards the front, with Tomo Malami, currently championship leader of our Platinums, will be fighting out. David Roth, a little bit further ahead, will be keeping an eye on the field as he does not want to be anywhere near Miles Stone. That's in second of our golds, a little bit further down in 11th position. So as they round out the corners, battling to get some heat into the brakes and down the main straight, 70 kilometers an hour as the drivers line up side by side waiting for the lights here at Valencia for round 6 of the ERA Sunday Championship. It's all or nothing. It's time to put the hammer down. Lights on, lights on, lights on. And away we go. Lights off, and we are off to the start. Christoph Peterson with a great jump off on Ernest Lundbergs. He's going to go out wide. Ben Hicks shooting across to try and defend. And there is Tomo Malami in the background. And you can see Lundbergs going side by side. The 488 making it a little bit difficult. Stephen Milano James locking himself in third place, trying to put his nose in the middle. Lundbergs sent out a little bit wide as he now falls down the train as they fight their way through. Stephen Milano James once again try to have a look. Ben Hicks immediately gets into the back of him. He's got Nicholas Cora for a bit of company. Tomo Malami, Jens Nelson are all fighting their way through. Nose to tail, and it does look like slight bit of contact between drivers. Just a door-to-door rubbing. Nothing in terms of big impacts. All clean on the way through. Side by side they go as they fishtail around. Nico Lawrence dealing with Paul Scothers at the moment. A little bit further down, we've got likes of Finley Gamble, who is really, a little bit of door rubbing between the two of them as they come around and getting on the power. And immediately, Finley Gamble going and leaning into Nico Lawrence, and Carl Hines going to be keeping him for a bit of company. Further down, that's Paul Scothers, who's gone out a little bit wide there in the Marlboro Porsche, into the dirt, trying to rejoin in the train as he falls down the order. Let's go back up towards the front though. Stephen Milano James currently fighting it out with Ben Hicks, who's got his teammate on the back of him, Nicholas Cora, along with Tomo Malami, hoping to stay in for the fight. Jens Nelson is trying to carry his way through as we do see the likes of, that is Ruan Heineke, who is getting a little bit more pace on the inside. He's trying to also get a little bit more of a climb. David Roth feeling the pressure from Schutten, and there is Miles Stone, who he has been concerned with. Cora has got Malami, just keeping him a bit of company behind. Jason Farmer pulling along Richard van Heerde, as we do see Martin Spritzer runs out a bit wide. Chris Wall says thank you very much. Paul Fenter slots in behind, trying to keep himself in order. And it looks like there may have been contact between the 612 and the 420. Let's quickly go and take a look. This is Martin Spritzer into turn 1, trying to keep it together. Sees Heineke, slots in, gets in a little bit wide, tries to bring the car back, snapping around, and Paul Fenter, a little bit of a nudge. Oh, there is into the back of Heineke, sending him off into oblivion as Paul Fenter was snaking to try and get onto the brakes. Nico Lawrence is going to be having fun with that one. Finley Gamble, but we do see Paul Scovers getting past Elric Diaga as Carl Sainz going in. Heinz is dropping himself down into the order. Whoa, secondary contact with David Young and Ruan Heineke. And it looks like Young going and losing out. It was door to door. And unfortunately, that's put him out onto the dirt as the entire train goes flying by just as he rejoins behind Jens van Vuren. Our leader putting in the fast lap time with 1:36 at the moment. Tomo Malami holding station with Schuten and Roth going and keeping his mirrors and front windscreen full as they head into turn 1. Schuten looking to just try and put the power on. Goes out a little bit wide there. You can see them snaking across, worrying about track limits as we see David Roth and Janssen van Vuren, the likes of Jens Nelson, going and fighting it out. Roth hoping to get up on the inside with that 488, utilizing the power. He's going to have to really get that V8 to scream high as he gets past the likes of Jens Nelson. And now Tomo Malami has to try and deal with the Cyber Racing Lamborghini as David Roth up into 6th place will need to be on the defense here to keep himself in order. We do see the light of David Schuten in the background constantly hounding at the moment. That is Stephen Milano James into the dirt. Stephen Milano James, a 787 car, unfortunately all off into the wrong. Let's try and take a look what happened. So he had the likes of Ben Hicks onto the back of him, runs out a little bit wide, a little bit unsteady. Ben Hicks now in the tow, pulling himself along, goes up on the inside. Stephen stuck on the outside, sweeps across the nose. Oh, slightest contact on the rear, and that is that. Nicholas Chorus says thank you very much, but unfortunately bringing down the order. Tomo Malami has got Schuten on the back of him now. The two of them had a little bit of rubbing is racing. Jen Nelson going to be opening up the gap a little bit more as he chases down Roth. Ben Hicks will be on the back of his teammate, saying, right, let's keep going. Let's keep the pace up all the way through. We don't want to be called to a little bit of an issue here. We want to stay in for the fight. Down in 18th position, Paul Scovers running out wide. Finley Gamble of the 2ID team gets past, and Paul tries for the inside line. Can he get it going? Oh, a little bit of contact on the rear. That's going to cause a little bit of concertina with Ulrich Diogo, Skurt Reynolds, all getting into the fray as well. Reynolds getting chased down by Federico Colgero as it all slows down, and Mon Spritzer further ahead gets past Stephen Milano James. Paul Fenter, who's on an absolute charger at the moment, looks for the inside line, can't get the run as Stephen Milano James just having that low-end torque. The Aston Martin, as Stephen Milano James minds out of the way for the two, loses out to Nico Lawrence at the moment. So Stephen Milano James knows that he's not in the fight with the Platinums, minds out of the way, keeps himself in check at the moment. Ben Hicks gets ahead of Nicholas Cora for the top 3 as they continue their charge after Ernest Lundbergs and Christoph Peterson, who's nearly 2 seconds ahead. Miles Stone has got Jason Farmer on the back of him as Schuten is just ahead within arm's reach as they pound on the pressure, hoping to keep up as much as they can. It's been quite a busy run for the start. Paul Scovers trying everything he can. Finley Gamble, as we see Stephen Milano James pulling into the pits. Going to be our first driver in through the box. Get themselves sorted out. And will be gently bring that car to a slow before stopping in the box. Finley Gamble going to go around the outside here. This is going to be a big gamble for him. Runs out wide. Ulrich Diogo goes for the undercut. Gets a run on him. And now you can see Skurt Reynolds putting his nose in. He wants to get a little bit of piece of the 2ID Ferrari. And he's got likes of Federico Calgero and John Spriggs for a bit of company. Christian Fengler, Ruan Heineke, who has also been trying to get a little bit of a recovery drive at the moment as he's down the order. Stephen Milano James doing the first pit stop of all the drivers at current will be hoping to get that car back out and going. A little bit of repair work will be done as we see Federico Calgera up on the inside of Scott Reynolds. Can't quite get it locked in. Reynolds across the nose, defends like his heart depends on it. John Spriggs, though, constantly trying to put a bit of pressure on that Honda NSX, utilizing the twin turbos to get a little bit more of a run. Jason Farmer into the dirt, though. Ran out a little bit wide. Chris Wall, David Boschke, and Rich Van Heerden all saying thank you very much as they go and get the drive past him. Jason Farmer down into 13th position now, way out of where he wants to be. Paul Fenter chasing down Martin Spritzer, hoping he can carry on the drive. Christian Fengler going and losing a little bit of time here as Ruben Heineke, Aaron Shingle, and Lewis Knight now put the pressure on as 24th, 25th, and 26th position run through. All the drivers still nose to tail at the moment. Lewis Knight looks up on the inside, trying to get a pass done. He does so. Aaron trying to fight back, stuck on the outside, keeps it within track limits though. The Nissan GTR has got the advantage. Try and put the nose in. Unfortunately, Aaron saw it coming, got himself pivoted in, sorted out, and now Cedric Muir to come in for the fight as well in 27th position. So Cedric, who's been waiting for the opportunity to get in for the fight, now starts to take his run through the order. Federico Calgera onto the back of Scott Reynolds for 20th position as he loses the rear, brings it back. But here comes the field. John Spriggs around the outside, trying to keep it all stable. Is it going to be enough though? Goes for the undercut, does get it right. And now Federico Calgero trying to pick up the drive in that McLaren after getting a little bit sideways, compromising the grip, and has Ruben Heineke now keeping him a bit of company in 23rd. A little slide, pushing up those temperatures a little bit too much. You're going to have to try and bring it back down into fighting order. So drivers having to work their way through as it warms up to about 20 degrees at current as they fight their way through. Great to see so many drivers really pushing that extra mark at the moment, hoping that they can stay in for the fight all the way through in these tough races though. Many of the drivers will have to dig deep though to try and keep it all in check and hoping that they will keep up the pace. Tomo Malami trying to move his way through as we do see Christian Fengler pushing a little bit hard, runs up wide and has Aaron Shingle following him for suit, going and getting sucked in and focusing on the charge. David Schuton onto the back of Tomo Malami will be focusing the charge now as he continues on the drive, and Schuton wants to try and keep this BMW balanced as much as possible, knows the Lexus will start to eat its tires onto the umpteenth degree as time goes on. So all he needs to do is just wait for that V8 to just start falling off a little bit. Considering they're in two different classes as well, he's hoping to just go and sneak on by. Tom and Malami on the chase for Nicholas Cora. David Roth leading out our gold division, and likes of Christoph Peterson leads out our diamonds at the moment on the running through. Gaps starting to open, that sun starting to become a little bit more of a problem through the final corner, and it gets brighter and brighter as you try and keep it all in check on the way. The drivers now starting to settle down into their positions, not pushing as hard to try and get past. They're going to focus on just getting it all sorted out. Stephen Milano James back out on track, completed his pit stop. Keep an eye on him though. He has the first to keep his do his pit stops, and now continues on the drive. He's going to be a little bit far down in the rest of the field, but a slow and steady climb has been done numerous times by drivers. Ronald Spriggs trying to keep up and has the likes of Sebastian Robertson up on the inside, gets a pass done, and now focuses on the likes of Nicholas Porras. BMW of likes of Sebastian hoping to keep it all in order, has Nicholas Porras up in the inside with the Aston Martin V8 AMR, trying to utilize as much curb as possible. It has a bit of a Constantino effect, and Finn van Holland getting into the fight. David Young trying to go up on the inside of the ERA Highway Patrol of Finn van Holland, and Rob van Heerden waiting for his opportunity once again, looking for ways to get round as a huge send for Van Holland, trying to get past Ronalds. couldn't get it done, slowed him up, and Young immediately capitalizing, trying to launch his way through, and will stay in for the fight as they power on. So great to see little skirmishes happening right across the circuit. Chris Wall, who has been on a charge after Indianapolis, will be trying to make his way past David Roschke at the moment. They are fighting out for class position. They're currently running in 4th as they do see Richard Finieta runs out very, very wide. Immediately Roschke capitalizing up on the inside, forces Richard Finieta out wide yet again. Chris Wall tries to take the advantage, couldn't get it done, and now is stuck behind the likes of Rich Finieta, who's going to defend, and Jason Farmer tries to get his way through as well. A little bit of Constantino effect, a little bit of nose and tail as Chris Wall hunts his way around left to right, seeing where he can get onto the power and continue on the charge as they make their way through. Richard taking a defensive inside line, early apex. Chris Wall going to try around the outside, couldn't get it sorted out. Jason Farmer nearly getting caught out, having to slam on the anchors as it all slows up around. Drivers focusing on what they need to do to just get these cars across the line. They do not want to sustain any damage or any unnecessary pit stop at the moment. Schutten bouncing all over the curbs, getting unsteady on the way through as he chases down Tomo Milami, and now starting to feel the pressure. That aero wash coming off the back of the Lexus, making things far more difficult for the drivers to contend. So Schutten needs to stay on the power here in the tow. Down the main straight they go, heading into turn 1. It's all about lining up your braking marker just right. You don't want to run out too far. Going and battling their way through and just keeps it in check. Drivers are starting to flirt with those track limits, and that is where the impact's going to happen. Chris Wall lines himself up for the inside. All contact between Chris Wall and Rich Finieta. Jason Farmer says thank you. Mon Spritzer comes by. Paul Fenter and the likes of Nico Lawrence. There is Paul Scovers, who's gone past, and now Ulrich Diaga has a shot at Richard Finieta on that contact for the 131. Not ideal running through, and let's quickly go to a helicam view and see what happened as they powered their way through. That was Chris Wall, who got as close as possible, got a great run out of turn 1, looked for turn 2, went for the send, and there's a little bit of a tap that just unsettled the Ferrari and spun him off into the dirt. So unfortunately, not an ideal time there. Chris going to be kicking himself a little bit. The 787 though, going a little bit slow. That's Stephen Milana James just allowing the field to come on by as there's Tomo Milami, followed by David Schutten at the moment. Stephen Milana James keeping it nice and wide, just letting the field try and get through. He's hoping to just sit in the slipstream, and he dives back into the pits. Second time round though, not a good situation for the Ferrari of Stephen Milana James, who had such a great run off the start, really got himself going. Unfortunately, a little bit of contact threw him down the order and landed up down in 36th position, losing 32 positions. He started out in 4th, and this time down in 36th. Not ideal, and looks like the team have called to have the car retired, which is rather unfortunate for Stephen Milana James, who has been on a great run throughout the season. David Young into the pit lane now, trying to get himself sorted out as the field come through and pass yet another lap done. Christoph Peterson leads out the field, 43 minutes to go in this race, with Ernest Lundbergs running in 2nd place. We got Ben Hicks running in 3rd, followed by Nicholas Cora, who's leading out our platinums at the moment. David Roth in 5th place, leading out our golds. Jens Nelson in 6th. 7th place is Tomo Milani, 2nd of our platinums, with the likes of David Schutten onto the back of him. Miles Stone, 2nd of our golds, running in 9th, and David Roschke rounding out our top 10. Chris Wall up into 11th position, has got the likes of Jason Farmer all over the back of him. These two know each other rather well, have been fighting across multiple championships across the world, and looking to once again revitalize the rivalry that has been going on between the Griffin Sim Racing team and Logistical Nightmare Racing. That has been a fight for years. Drive-through penalty, first to be handed out, goes to Karl Heinz for track limits exceeded. We're expecting to see more of these starting to creep up in the race. Drivers will start to rack it up. You got 3 warnings before you land up getting caught out and landing up with a drive-through penalty, going and adding on to more time in the pits, time lost on track, and that will knock you out of any chance of running. Federico Calgero late on the brakes, trying to make it work. Oh, Scott Reynolds getting that little bit of contact from Calgero. He stopped, reversed, waiting for the opportunity. Very, very smart of the Mustang driver, watching and having his spotter saying, listen, wait. You gotta let the field go before rejoining on the inside. Oh, a little too much power going and rejoining there. Christian Fingler, a little bit of a problem as Aaron Shingle gets on by. Cedric Muir tried to battle his way through as it was a 3-wide situation. Christian didn't want to get caught out into the fray. Has got Sebastian also hunting around. Cedric stuck, looking, fishing left, right, as the likes of Christian Fingler runs out wide, and that is opened up for Cedric Muir. And now Sebastian try to have a look as well. Christian Fingler down the order, having to just really watch all the mirrors at the moment. Sebastian Ribberson tried to take his chance here, tried to pull the shot, and unfortunately couldn't quite get it done. A lot of curb being taken on the way through as he tries to keep on the back of Christian Fingler the whole way. David Schutten now into the pit lane. Schutten into the pits, dropping down out of the top 20, trying to get that pit stop done and dusted for the ERA Highway Patrol, and hoping that's going to make a big impact for this race. It's all about momentum that is required. Sebastian looked for the inside, backed out of it. Lewis Knight immediately stuck his nose in and gets in nice and close and friendly. Sebastian loses out. Lewis is going to be happy on this, and it carries on the drive. The Nissan GTR going and getting some great traction out of the corner. Sebastian, unfortunately, fishtailing in that BMW. Needs to try and bring it all back together as the field starts to break apart here at Valencia. So far, Schutten in and out through the pits will have done his pit stop along with David Young. Carl Heinz, who's done his drive-through penalty, will have to redo another pit stop, and you can see a little bit of damage to the front end of the car. So Schutten will be the driver to keep an eye on now for those pit stops. An early pit stop, nonetheless, in this 1 hour race, trying to get it out of the way on a busy circuit. And it will now just focus on keeping the momentum as Ronald Priggs keeping up with the likes of Rob Finney. Here they're having a go at him. Drivers really hoping that they can push themselves out a little bit more on a very difficult circuit, navigating through these up and down. The change of cambers and elevation make it so difficult to push too hard on it. As Chris Wall getting a little bit of contact with Jason Farmer, the Ferrari up on the inside of the Mustang. And Chris Wall not backing down, runs out a little bit wide. Farmer once again hunting down the inside. This is for the top 10. Chris Wall getting a little bit of contact there, tries to bring it back. Farmer trying to wait for an opportunity, and Martin Spritzer past the 2, capitalizes. Oh, Chris Wall into the side of Martin, and now Chris Wall carrying the sign of rebellion on the back of his car after the off-road excursion. Spritzer capitalized, took 2 positions, and up into the top 10. Chris Wall runs out a little bit wide. Farmer once again for the inside, and Paul Fenter getting to tell his teammate, hey, listen, I can read the signboard that is trapped on your rear wing, and Jason Farmer all over the back of you is going to make life a bit difficult. So Paul's going to wait it out here, wait for the opportunity to come on by. As Farmer getting a little bit more aggressive. Great drive out of the final corner, stays on the hammer the whole way through with Chris Wall just ahead of him. Paul Fenter runs out wide. Paul Fenter completely missed the corner. Nico Lawrence getting past him. And it does look like Paul Scaveris will also have the run on Paul Fenter, who just absolutely lost that bit of momentum. And likes of Jason Farmer finally getting in the clutches of Chris Wall as they slide their way through. Paul Fenter once again miles off the circuit. And as Paul Scaveris going and saying, listen, I'm back on you, buddy. Let's keep going here. Let's keep pushing. Richard Van Heerden finally closing up the gap as well Paul Fenter visiting off into the distance here at Valencia, trying to go into the vineyards, I would say, and not quite the way that you want to do in the Aston Martin in a race. Paul Scaveris, the Black Lung Bandits, now starting to drop off the pace, has got Richard van Heerden coming back with a vengeance. Remember, Richard lost out a little bit of time after the previous bit of contact, and now will look to try and pull himself out of 16th position, wants to get back into that top 10 and stay in the running order. John Spriggs onto the back of Finley Campbell. The Wise Racing up against the 2ID. These two teams have gone and fought it out in endurance racing time and time again, and now they look to go and recreate all that same action here at the beautiful circuit of Valencia for round 6. Drivers pushing as hard as they can when they get close to one another need to be well aware of those track limits that will start to creep in, and landing up, taking a big hit, as we did see the likes of Carl Hines getting that immediately, that drive-through, as we see Jason Farmer diving into pit lane, going and relinquishing the run, as we see Paul Fenter stuck on the outside. Paul Scaveris getting past Paul Fenter up on the inside, gonna retake it for the undercut. Does get it done. Richard van Heerden up on the inside of Paul Scaveris, runs out to braking, and immediately Paul's comes back at him, looks for the inside. It's side by side they go. Richard stuck on the inside now, runs out of braking zone, and there we go. Paul Scaveris back in for the fray, gets the pass done and dusted. Richard van Heerden falls into the clutches of Ulrich de Jager, yet again trying out his luck. And Ulrich de Jager is going to keep the battle on. That's also close up for Finley Gamble, and John Spriggs have finally gotten onto it. And slowly but surely, Ruben Heineke has been coming into the fray. Christoph Peterson now leads out the field, 4.5 seconds up the road. Remember, he's got a 5-second penalty that he has to serve on his pit stop, while Ernest Lundbergs has 15 seconds that he has to try and beat out before he can get going. For a little bit of those mathematicians out there that love to go and strategize and figure out how long it takes you, well, the likes of David Schutten spent 33.5 seconds in pit lane, and that is gonna cost him a bit of time here at the beautiful circuit of Valencia. Paul Fenter into the box, and the likes of Ulrich de Jager into the box. It does seem that it is also in the eyes of Chris Wall to get himself in the box and not lose out too much time as well. So many of the drivers taking those earlier stops, now trying to get it all sorted out, while everyone else continues on the drive. Different strategies being run by drivers, running a little bit of a lighter tank to try and push themselves a little bit further up through the field. Others, full tanks, run them out, run them through, as Miles Stone keeps on the pressure of Tarmo Malami, who continues on the drive as the sun starts to get a little bit more in the eyes of the drivers as they figure out what can they do here. How far are they willing to go? Tarmo Malami, you can see, focusing on just trying to keep a nice, gentle drive. Doesn't want to lose out too much time. Good to see a little bit of sunshine in the background, though, through the blinds, and feeling a little bit warmer. Nice t-shirt. Oh, I won't lie. A little bit jealous on that one, as he keeps it nice and consistent on the way through. Has the likes of Miles Stone constantly pressurizing him, trying to figure out where can he get by. Quick wiping off the sweat, looking around, seeing what's going on for the likes of the racing, and looking at what needs to be done here. As Miles Stone, not quite going on the attack, is waiting for the opportunity to go for the drive. He wants to try and follow him through. David Rolski now into pit lane as well to see over his pit stop on the way through. And that's going to release a stack of drivers to continue on their drive. John Spriggs, though, keeping the pressure on Finley Gamble. Christian Finger dealing with the likes of Lewis Knight onto the back of him. Lewis Knight's not going to make this any easier, and it's going to be all Newt up on the inside for the Good Smile Racing. Couldn't quite get it done on the Lamborghini. Has Nicholas Porras immediately coming back at him in 21st position. Nicholas Porras trying to keep it nice and consistent. David Walshke down the order, though, will serve his pit stop. trying to get himself done and dusted to focus on the drive, and it's already down into 28th position for Borski as he looks to try and carry his way through. There is Jason Farmer, and it does look like that is Christoph Peterson, our leader, now into pit lane. He's got 5 seconds that he has to serve, and Ernest Lundberg's going to say thank you to that one and retake first place in the order here as he focuses on the charge. Ruan Heineke also running into a bit of a problem, visiting the dirt on the way through. Nicholas Cora gaining a position. So many drivers attempting a bit of a later stop this time round, but how they're going to contend with it. Nico Lawrence dives into the pits, try and get himself a jump on Nicholas Cora, Tomo Malami, and his own teammate of Martin Spritzer as well. So Paul Scaveris up into 7th position. Will be quite happy with that. Rich van Heerden back up into the top 10, into 8th place after a almighty spin at the start of the race. But David Schutten leads out those that have done their first pit stop, and he's up into 27th position. And let's see where the likes of Christoph Peterson, Jens Nelson, Nico Lawrence, John Spriggs, and Martin Spritzer all fall into play. Sheriff van Vuren pulls into the pits, and there is Sebastian Robertson with a drive-through penalty. That makes 2 drivers that have gone and suffered their track limits coming into play. Christoph Peterson released back out on track, now leads out those that have completed their first pit stop, with Jens Nelson trying to catch up, and the likes of Scott Reynolds that is going and putting himself smack bang in the 2. Sebastian will have to serve that drive-through penalty as it all starts to creep in. Ernest Lundberg's with that 15 seconds. He's trying to deal with it and get back out. John Spriggs coming out in front of Nicholas Cora, who makes his way up into 2nd place. David Roth will take 3rd. Tomo Malami up into 4th with Miles Stone. Ernest Lundberg's down into 6th with Paul Scaveris now coming by, as we do see a slow-going BMW into pit lane. That is Sebastian doing his drive-through penalty. Richard van Heerden, Finley Gamble, all diving into the pits as well, thinking it's going to be the best idea to get it done and dusted early on here. That is leaving Nicholas Cora, Tomo Malami, Miles Stone, and Paul Scaveris, the only drivers out on the circuit that still need to do their pit stop with that success penalty in play. And that is where it gets a little bit tricky, and where drivers are going to have to try and figure out what they're going to do here. Miles Stone once again attacking Tomo Malami, trying to figure out how to just move him offline as he takes a look and sees Paul Scaveris going and slowly catching up behind him. 13 seconds behind, but it is close enough to make an impact here. And considering Paul's has got only 5 seconds to serve, Miles needs to really lay on the pressure to make this work in his favor. David Schutten all over the back of Ernest Lundberg's, who's up into 15th position and will be chasing on his way through. Peterson miles up the road from them and will be trying to get their way through. So Ernest Lundberg's with that 15-second penalty, success penalty, done and dusted, will chase down Jens Nelson, Scott Reynolds, to eventually get back to Christoph Peterson. He knows that Christoph can't be let go for too long. Ben Hicks and Nicholas Cora, the ERA Highway Patrol, into the pits. Tomo Malami into the pits. Paul Scaveris going to take on by and continue on the drive as he goes after. It is Gold leading out the race. David Roth in 5th, along with Miles Stone and Paul Scaveris running 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, making it the first time this season we have seen the top 3 now all Gold Division drivers, hoping to keep going. Federico Calgero in 4th place. Our top 4 are all the Gold drivers, still needing to go into the pits to serve their pit stop, but still a fantastic time. Even Nicholas Porras is a Gold Division. Our top 5 is all Gold Division, on the same strategy to go that little bit deeper in the race. David Roth with 10 seconds, Miles Stone with 15, Paul Scaveris with 5 that they will have to serve. Nicholas Porras and Federico Calgero, the only 2 Gold Division drivers that are in the top 5 that have no success penalties that they need to serve. David Roth into pit lane. Will Miles Stone come on by? He does get on by. Tomo Malami with a drive-through penalty for track limits exceeded. That is 3 drivers getting caught out here, and unfortunately going to be dropping him out of the top 10. He's not going to be impressed by that one. And Tomo, having a rough race out there, will be going and shaking his head in a little bit of disappointment as he's got Ulrich Diaga on the back of him. No time to just go and say, well, this is it. He's going to have to try and score as many points as possible to hang on to the championship. Despite the drive-through penalty, he will be focusing on what needs to be done. And you can see, not allowing it to get underneath him as we join our cameras. Opens up the door a little bit for Ulrich Diaga to have a look. Couldn't quite get on by as Ruben Heineke immediately staying in for the pressure. He's got 2 laps to get it done. Third lap will be the final call. Anything beyond that lands him up with a DQ out of the race. Not quite what you want to deal with. Our entire field now have done their pit stops. Sorry, there's 2 drivers that are yet to do their pit stops out there, and that is the likes of Miles Stone and Nicholas Porras, who still needs to get their drive through the pits, get them sorted out and back and going. Tomo Malami now through pit lane will be trying to pick himself up and get going yet again. As we do take a look to the camera of Tomo Malami, you can see trying to adjust those headphones, get himself refocused in for the race, and hopefully back out there to have a bit of fun. Drive-throughs is extremely hurting on the way. But we do have a bit of contact though coming up, and that is for the 169. That's Ruben Heineke yet again running into a bit of an issue, and it looks like it's Federico Calgero that had a go. So there is Ruben Heineke as we see Tomo Malami in the pits. Calgero comes out of pit lane, tries to join in. A little bit of going wide for Heineke, and that spins out Calgero as you get spat out right into the racing line. And all it takes is one car to drift out a little bit wide. Christoph Peterson up into second place. Nicholas Porras down into third. Now needs to do his pit stop. Miles Stone leads out the field in the Ford Mustang, but still has that success penalty, trying to open it away from the likes of David Roth. Nicholas Cora leads out our platinum drivers with the likes of David Borchke running in 9th place, second in class, trying to chase him down at current. Martin Spritzer's got Jason Farmer contending with him as he tries to get towards that top 3 in class. He has to get into the fight with Borchke as much as possible to stay in for a championship contention here and stay away from Paul Fenter. Jason Farmer, however, is making life a little bit more difficult. Miles Stone into the pits to get his stop done and dusted. 2 drivers, unfortunately, out of this race. 36 drivers started, and we have got 34 to go on the way through. Chris Wall up against Ulrich Diaga now, trying to make sure he can get going and continue on the drive. Christian Fengler still dealing it out with Lewis Knight as our close battles continue through the race. Miles Stone in through the pits, and that means Christoph Peterson will come through. Nicholas Porras getting into the pits, 23 minutes to go, and now Ben Hicks will inherit that second place. He's going to be happy on the run with Christoph just ahead of him. Ernest Lundbergs will be bringing the train along with Jens Nelson, Nicholas Cora, David Schutten, and likes of Borchke not too far behind, trying to get a little bit more of a drive. There is the likes of Hines trying to make his way through after drive-through penalty. So far, we've seen 3 drivers lining up with that drive-through penalty for track limits exceeded. How many more are running on the fringe of this race? How many more have got no more warnings left in the tank as Miles Stone starts to leave pit? Nicholas Porras still stuck in pit lane, waiting to go out. 20th position at the moment, and starts to tumble down even further on the way through. It is all starting to become a bit more of an impact for his race. Federico Calgero into pit lane with a drive-through penalty. Yet another driver, unfortunately, getting 4 track limits exceeded during the course of the race. Valencia notorious for those track limits, and it's coming into effect as we see Rich Fanietta onto the back of Nico Lawrence, the track tool team, keeping pressure on, hoping to go that little bit further. Paul Fencer's got Miles Stone just ahead of him for company, and just a little bit up the road from the two of them is Jason Farmer with Martin Spritzer as well. Christian Fengler getting a drive-through penalty, will have to serve that one. Fastest lap being set by Ernest Lundberg, so will be quite happy with it, with a 1:30.3 as he continues on his charge through the order. Going to be smiling ear to ear on the way through. Great racing from our drivers as they push themselves this little bit more for round 6. So much pace left in the tank for the drivers to really figure out where they're going to go. Ronald Priggs dealing with Rob van der Heever at the moment. Fengler losing out to Lewis Knight. Under pressure will get that drive through, and it is just getting wild at the moment. Looking at my system, the 206 got a penalty. The likes of the 310, the 50, and the likes of the 813 all having to serve their drive through penalties that have gone and taken them right out of the race for here round 6 here at Valencia for the ERA Sunday Championship. With the final round next week, it is all on the line to score big here, and the last thing you want to do is to go and take out your chances by pushing the limits a little bit too far here at Valencia. And we've seen drivers really trying to sink their teeth in as Nico Lawrence has a look on Paul Fenter, and Rich Fanietta comes in for company. He looks on the inside. Side by side they go. Lawrence holds the inside line. Got to be a little bit more comfortable here. Feeding the power on. Doesn't go out too wide. And unfortunately, just not having that top end like the 296. Has a look on the inside of Rich Fanietta. Misses out the brake marker. In through the dirt. Able to stabilize the car. Not often you get to see it, as many of the drivers catch the curbing and throw out to the outside, landing into the dirt. That has cost many championships for many sim racers across the world. Ruben Heineke gets ahead of John Spriggs as they continue on their charge. Spriggs going to be pretty happy with that one, as he has a toe now to try and pull himself closer to the likes of Paul Scaveris, just lying ahead. It is so far safe running for Peterson, Ben Hicks, and Ernest Lundbergs, who are running in the top 3 of our Diamond class. Nicholas Cora leading out our Platinum with David Broschke, and the likes of Martin Spritzer running out our top 3 of our Platinum. David Roth leads out our Gold with Miles Stone behind him. A great show between the two of them. Miles Stone, who did take the win last time, unfortunately not having a good time here at Valencia. And you got Paul Scaveris, who's keeping in that top 3. He's keeping himself going, maintaining the drive on the way through, not wanting to be caught out on the way to the drive. Ruben Heineke and John Spriggs having a go with one another. Christian Fengler leaving pit lane, as we do have yet another retirement, down to 33 drivers out of the 36 that started this race here at ERA. And that's one thing I've got to say. We've got to get those cars back out. Get them back out and racing. There's no reason to be going and just calling a retirement during the race. And big one coming in for Shooten in the top 6, lying in the top 5 of the class, gets a drive-through penalty, and that unfortunately will drop him down out of the top 10. Shooten for the ERA Highway Patrol will fall out of the top 10, and a big impact considering he's running 5th in class, 44 points. He was 2 points off Jens Nelson, and this would go and throw the chances of catching up to Jens Nelson into the bin for this round 6, and possibly able to lose the sights of 4th place in the championship. Not ideal running for Shooten, who's just gone and landed up with scoring no points at Donington, no points at Silverstone, and a drive-through here at Valencia. That is gut-wrenching, but unfortunately, this is motorsport, a cruel mistress to the world of racing, and who better to say this is gonna be one that hurts. Rich van Heerden trying to have a look to try and get by the likes of Nico Lawrence. He looked for the inside line, couldn't quite get it done. We'll have to wait it out yet again to push himself out a little bit more as they gain some time. It's gonna have to be a big look for Richard van Heerden, as Nico Lawrence has been keeping it consistent the whole way through. And David Schutten into pit lane, serving his drive-through penalty. Jason Farmer with Martin Spritzer just ahead of him, hoping to gain some time here, and will be on the charge to move his way up through the order. Drivers hoping that they can put in big impacts, not wanting to lose out, and definitely going to be suffering some big losses if they can't get the momentum. Jason Farmer dealing with Martin Spritzer at the moment, can't get on by. Nico Lawrence with Richard van Heerden, that is our closest fight on circuit, along with Lewis Knight and Cedric Muir. They're now dispatched the likes of Christian Fengler, who had the drive-through penalty. Cedric, all the way out from France, will be laying in to the impact of Lewis Knight, trying to unsettle that Nissan GTR. 33 drivers remain, and it's still top running order. The closest within the top 10, though, is Nicholas Cora and Jens Nelson. Now, Cora leads out our Platinum division, with David Bolsky running in second, and Martin Spritzer actually running in third place. And he has got the pressure from Jason Farmer at the moment, so it is clean sailing for the likes of Jens Nelson, because Jason Farmer, down in ninth place, has got a lot of traffic to get through. 4 cars before he can even consider scoring against the likes of Jens Nelson, who is further up in the championship for the likes of our Diamond. He's running in 4th place in the championship. He's going to be quite happy with this running at the moment. Ernest Lumbriggs keeping just within earshot, has got the fastest lap time of 1:30.3 during the course of this race, and now needs to carry on. Ben Hicks, who's second in the championship, with Christoph Peterson leading out the championship. So it's all status quo between them and how far they're willing to go. Schutten onto the back of Scaveris, and Richard van Heerden landing up with a bit of contact between the two of them. The 131 and the 411 now has Schutten all over the back of him, and that has also brought Ruben Heineke as the train starts to build up. John Spriggs not too far, and Chris Wall seeing the train build up and wants to join in the party as well. David Schutten, after serving that drive-through penalty, who needs to get back into the top 10 to score points. He doesn't want to lose out to Ruben Heineke, considering they're in the same class. Scaveris is currently a gold division driver that is fighting him out at the moment, and Pauls has done a phenomenal job with that Porsche for the Black Lung Bandits to keep it in check, as he's got Richard van Heerden within earshot at the moment, going and pulling him along and keeping him a little bit more protected. Nico Lawrence just ahead, who runs out a bit wide, gets a bit unsettled, and that goes and lands up with Richard van Heerden right on the back. He's going deep on the inside, though, in for turn 1. It's going to be a big move for Richard if he can get this done and dusted. Nico's not going to back out of it. Sweeps across the nose, gets it hooked in, goes out wide, unfortunately. That's going to cost him time. Richard van Heerden carries on the momentum. Paul Scaveris looks on the inside, couldn't quite get the pass done. Schutten getting caught into the Constantina. It loses out a little bit of drive, and Heineke immediately comes onto the attack. Scaveris now going and creating a big problem for the likes of Schutten, as Heineke has an opportunity to get on by. The BMW hunting for any way to get past, and also on the defense, it is so difficult to watch your mirrors and go on the attack as you fight your way through round 6 of the ERA Sunday Championship. Pauls, who's just keeping that 3rd place in class, is looking to keep away from John Spriggs, who's a second behind in that Honda NSX, waiting for his opportunity to take away the podium here. Richard van Heerden just on the attack. He wants to get past Nico Lawrence. He wants to go after the likes of Paul Fenter as they are running currently in order. And it does look like Nico Lawrence into the dirt. And Richard Fanieta losing out a little bit of time. Paul Scaveris around the outside trying to battle back. Now has the loss of line as Schutten immediately gets a drive on him. Paul's tried his best there and now has Schutten. Looks on the inside, heading towards turn 1. Heineke is going to keep on the racing line. Schutten looks up on the inside. The BMW gets it hooked in, and that is Paul's down behind Schutten. Heineke is going to be next, and there is John Spriggs waiting for an opportunity. Contact with the likes of Paul Scaveris, and Spriggs immediately gets that pass done. He's in for contention of the gold to get on the podium. John Spriggs, for Wise Racing, has an opportunity to get ahead of Paul's and needs to take every little bit of it to get on the running order, to get into the fight. This is for third in gold, and now Heineke has to get past these two if he wishes to get even close to Richard van Heerden, starting to break away. Schutten will be closing up on the back of him, and Paul Fenter 1.3 seconds away from them. Chris Wall has joined the party as well, with Nico Lawrence just ahead of him, who's returned to the circuit and now having a difficult time out there. Ulrich de Jager and Finley Gamble having a go with one another as de Jager ran out wide. And there is Schutten into the dirt, loss of traction, and that is 3 positions gone in one corner. He pushed it too hard and lands up further down. A race to forget for the ERA Highway Patrol. Nico Lawrence and Chris Wall will be next to have a go at David Schutten on the way through. Lawrence and Wall to the inside, with Chris Wall up on the inside, deep and committed to it. Couldn't quite get it run and goes out very wide, snaps back rather quickly to try and protect himself from those track limits. Nico Lawrence leads out between the two of them as the train starts to open up. Drivers are able to catch a breath before they go back on the attack. John Spriggs all over Paul Scaveris at the moment, fighting out for the top 3, looking to get into third place and score maximum points here. Richard van Heerden and Paul Fenter having a go. Richard up on the inside, forcing Paul out a little bit wide. Late on the anchor, 2 very defensive drivers that are not afraid to go door to door. Richard van Heerden gets a pass. Paul Fenter locking horns. Now lost that little bit of drive. Needs to get the position back from the likes of Richard van Heerden as they fight it out for 4th in their class and just out of the top 10. Paul Fenter not having an easy time out there, as we do see John Spriggs losing out a little bit of momentum. Ruan Heineke got the inside line, runs it in deep, gets it past, done and dusted. Spriggs try to come back at him. No way that could happen. And now Spriggs has got the likes of Schutten, who is on a charge to try and launch his way back in for the running. Spriggs into the toe of Heineke, trying to run it in right into turn 1 as deep as possible. Getting it all together. Nice clean line. Great exit. And now Schutten all over the back of him. Paul Fenter going and losing the rear. Just able to catch it momentarily. And that's got Paul Scaveris all over the back of him. Now Scaveris going to be risking third place in class, with Paul Fenter going and defending his absolute heart out at the moment. Paul's up on the inside. It's Paul versus Paul at the moment. And it does look like the Porsche just not having the legs on the Aston Martin V8 AMR. Paul Scaveris losing that little bit of time into the toe. Paul Fenter hoping to just keep it all in check as they continue on the drive. Heineke towing in behind. John Spriggs as well. Schutten going and fighting his way through. Paul's trying to look for the inside yet again. Could not get it locked in. Has got Heineke immediately putting the pressure back on to try and chase him down. As they continue the drive, Scaveris over the dirt, losing a bit of time there. And there is John Spriggs waiting in the wings for an opportunity to snatch that third place. We are watching this concertina, this back and forth, as this is the closest train out on circuit at current. Drivers hoping to continue on. Tomo Milani having a good go as Cedric Muir. Finley Gamble with Ulrich Diaga. Chris Wall going door to door with Nico Lawrence. David Schutten, John Spriggs, 7 minutes and 41 seconds to go. Drivers throwing caution to the wind as they continue on this epic drive to score maximum points, to try and get every little bit point possible to win the championship, to fight it out yet again. Christoph Peterson, Ben Hicks, and Ernest Lundbergs run in the top 3 of our diamonds and top 3 overall. Nicholas Cora leads out the likes of our platinums with David Brodsky, and we've got David Roth leading out our golds with Miles Stone only in 10th position. Martin Spritzer in 3rd of our platinums, and Lexus Caveras, who's throwing it all on the line, running 3rd of our golds, will continue on the drive as Heineke gets closer. Paul Fenter, hard defense at the moment. Heineke's going to try everything he can. Paul runs out wide. Scaveras has got the run. Around the outside he goes. The Porsche, trying to get as much grip as possible, will be on the marbles. He will sweep across the nose of Paul Fenter. Couldn't quite get it on the apex though. That's loss of time. Paul Fenter's going to drag race him. The Aston Martin has got some serious legs on it. Has he got enough with the Porsche trying to defend with the likes of Ruan Heineke in the 296? That V6 turbocharger finally onto the back of Paul Fenter. Yet again, Spriggs in for a fight. Schutten still in for the fight. Chris Wall with unable to get close to his teammate as yet, who will be calling for help at the moment. Trying everything he can to defend Paul up into 12th place. Next up will be Richard van Heerde, who's just up the road. 1.6. He runs out a little bit wide, costing him a bit of time as they snake their way through. Paul Fenter, Ruan Heineke, John Spriggs, and David Schutten all in for the mix here as Chris Wall now 1.3 seconds behind. He's got Nico Lawrence also starting to pull in as well, as drivers having to contend with some hard fighting here. A multitude of different classes from platinum to diamond and gold all in for the mix. They've thrown the classes aside. They are racing their hearts out. They're going for overall positions. It is for honor. It is for glory. And Schutten looking to try and reclaim some of it after a drive-through penalty, a visit to the kitty litter, and now stuck behind John Spriggs, who is looking to try and capitalize on getting 3rd in class. Ruan Heineke had the inside line, gets back into the toe of Paul Fenter, closing on the back of him as far as they can. John Spriggs getting the position over Schutten, and Schutten then retakes it. Schutten now up into 15th, will be seeing Heineke and saying, listen, this is my chance to score points here and take as many as I can away from you. Heineke is going to have to switch up from attack to defense to try and battle against the likes of Schutten. Spriggs falling down the order, losing sight of the likes of Paul Scaveras. Jason Farmer has gotten Mon Spritzer. They're finding it out for 8th and 9th at the moment as they continue on the charge to the running order of the main race here. Leading on to round 7, which will be at Kyalami. It is going to be a big one. 90 minutes, 2 mandatory pit stops to get it all sorted out. The drivers just trying to score those final points. That half a point, that 1 point, those 5 points, anything at this point to get themselves back in for the running order, to stay towards the sharp end of the field, as drivers will have to dig deep here as Ruan Heineke has lost it into the dirt. Ruan Heineke into the dirt, down the order he goes, down into 18th, loses out to Nico Lawrence, and now just trying to put the power on early to reclaim at least something. 0.2 of a second. He wins and broke from the pressure. Heineke has got Lawrence for company. Ulrich Diaga right behind him has got Finley Gamble going and closing up, saying, listen, if you're going to do that again, don't come across us as I'm trying to contain, I'm trying to hold my position. Nico Lawrence goes on the defense, keeping himself in check. Heineke losing out. Chris Wall trying to go on the attack of John Spriggs just ahead of him. Shooting all over the back of Paul Fenter as they continue on. Scaveras going and maneuvering his way through, hoping to keep ahead of Ronald Piggs, who's running in 33rd, who will be a blue flag in the middle of it. And that is Gerrit Jens van Vuren with a drive-through penalty in the last 2 minutes of the race. That is detrimental to his race. But now Rollins is going to be the linchpin here for the likes of Paul Fenter and David Schutten. If he goes and causes a little bit of a concertina effect, Schutten will look to try and box him in early. And that is going to be the same for John Spriggs and Chris Wall as they continue on the drive. But over the curb, they're getting very unsettled, trying to keep it all in check. Ruben Heineke losing out a bit of time, getting a little bit more cautious through the corner. He's not comfortable anymore, and now starting to lose out a little bit of time to Nico Lawrence as they continue on the drive through this race. Paul Scaveras closing up to the likes of Richard van Heerden as Paul Fenter, Schutten, all getting past John Spriggs and Chris Wall. No problems on the way through as drivers continue to keep themselves in check. Schutten all over the back of Paul Fenter, looks for the inside, couldn't quite get the drive. Spriggs now back into contention for them as they fight out 13th, 14th and 15th in tow, with the likes of Chris Wall in 16th, just staying on. And we are getting confirmation that Christoph Peterson has started his final lap. 13.2 seconds away from Ben Hicks, and only 2.9 seconds behind Ben Hicks is Ernest Lundbergs, as we do see the number 98, that's Kurt Reynolds, who landed up into the dirt, trying to go and bring himself back for the Heritage Racing. He is way down the order than where he wants to be, 31st position on that charge. Paul Fenter, David Schutten, John Spriggs trying to keep themselves in check here, but it is the number one that is now gone and started his last lap. Drivers know they need to give it everything they got. Spriggs trying to keep the pressure on to the likes of Schutten, whose tires are starting to feel the pain. Ruben Heineke with the likes of Nico Lawrence also pushing as hard as he can. Ulrich de Jager, Finley Gamble. It is the mid-grid that is surprising us with that epic battle. Nicholas Cora, however, is taking the fight to Jens Nelson on the final lap. He wants to get into that top four to prove a point that the Platinums are here to stay, and he will be the next to move up into Diamonds. David Brodsky, who is a little bit further back, also keeping in contention. Scaveras keeping the run. Schutten gets a pass on Paul Fenter. And now John Spriggs and Chris Wall have getting into the fight. Gamble with a drive-through penalty, as we do see Chris Wall getting a little bit elbow to elbow. Peterson takes the win. Ben Hicks will take second place here at round 6 at Valencia. Christoph Peterson, yet another win underneath his belt. Ernest Lundbergs will take third place. Fourth will go to Jens Nelson. First in our Platinums will be Nicholas Cora, ahead of David Brodsky in second place. David Roth will take the win for our golds as he comes across the line. Martin Spritzer will round out our top 3 of our Platinums with Jason Farmer in tow. Miles Stone, second place of the golds. Richard van Heerden will come across the line as he battles his way through, trying to hold the likes of Paul Scaveras, who is running third in class. Richard van Heerden will take 11th overall. Paul Scaveras in 12th will be happy with his top 3 in the gold division. Schutten with a climb back up to 13th position. Paul Fenter, Chris Wall, John Spriggs, Nico Lawrence, Ruben Heineke, Ulrich de Jager keeps ahead of Finley Gamble. David Young will come across the line. Tom O'Malamy, after a bit of a devastating run, will be in 21st position. Lewis Knight in 23rd. 24th, Cedric Muir, along with Finn van Hollen, Nicholas Porras, Sebastian Robertson, Christian Fingler, Federico Calgera, Rob van der Heever, Skurt Reynolds, Ronald Priggs, and Gerrit Jens van Vuren, rounding out the pack here at the beautiful Valencia and the end of round 6. My, oh my, what a race. What a bit of excitement, folks. And I hope that you were on the edge of the seat as much as I was, because that was insane through the end. The mid-pack was the most chaotic of them all. Our front runners managed to just keep themselves going, continued on the drive, not worrying about what's around them. They just focused on the long haul through the field. And that has been the incredible side of it. And we've got to say, some rather exciting racing nonetheless by our drivers on a rather great race here at Valencia for round 6. But we will be having a chat to some of those drivers and getting a bit of feedback of what the race felt like. Quick look to the highlights, though, as we bring our drivers in, ready to come and enjoy a chat with us here at the beautiful track of Valencia. A great running by all, some close racing, and also some late dives needed to go in. This has been an exciting track with many, many moments as we take a look at Tomo Milani off the start, trying to make his climb up. He's got Jens Nelson on the back of him. They continued to push that a little bit more. Antonio Gamble out there in the virtual grandstand saying, well done to all. Some great battles being shown and some great driving being shown. And I have to agree with it as well. Many of the drivers are going to be feeling that tomorrow morning, that they have worked it big time on the running order. So all being said, it was an exciting one. It was a tough time out there for our server 1, and I know that our server 2 also had a rather exciting race for themselves. But we're going to be chatting to a couple of drivers, starting off with our driver that came in second place for our platinums, for our diamonds, and also was part of the running order to chase his way through. It's the ERA Highway Patrol. Let's bring up Ben Hicks to come and have a chat to us. So while we get Ben Hicks to the stage to come and have a chat, Ben, welcome to the commentary box. Glad to have you here. And what a run on your side for the ERA Highway Patrol. Bit of a difficult race out there.
Yeah, definitely. It's a track I am not familiar with at all. Drove it for the first time this week, so definitely learning the ins and outs. I benefited a lot from, I think, every single car around me at the start had a success penalty. So that definitely helped out. But yeah, it was just watching the gap come down to Lindbergh's lap after lap at the end. I was on the edge of my seat, tensing up, but we got there in the end.
Now, we've got to ask the pit stop strategy, because this track is all about rhythm. You're constantly stuck in a train. You're constantly trying to get past cars. What was the game plan with your pit stop?
Yeah, well, my strategy was split it halfway, really. I knew I didn't have the penalty that everyone else around me did, so I just wanted to stay close to them. And yeah, the two 488s got away at the start. They built up quite a big gap, so unfortunately couldn't come out ahead of Chris, but yeah, stayed ahead of Lindbergh's, and then yeah, just tried to hold that to the end, really.
Well, you came into this race second place in the championship, only 2 points away from the likes of Ernest Lindbergh's. How do you feel heading into the final round? Kyle Army, 90 minutes, and 2 mandatory pit stops to go after the silver and possibly the gold here in the championship.
We'll see. Kyle Army is another one of those tracks that I haven't driven too much, and I think quite a lot of people here probably have. So we'll see where the experience comes into hand. But we were strong in the wet earlier in the season, so if it's mixed conditions, we won Kota in the wet. So hopefully it rains more.
Fair enough. Well, I got you in the box. Anything you would like to say to all the partners here at ERA, to all the teams, the drivers, and I think you'll agree with me, as you were going around the ERA highway patrol, because you only serve the petrol heads out there in the virtual grandstands.
Yeah, thank you to everyone running. Thank you to the stewards. Thank you to you, Stephen. You do a fantastic job. And thank you for everyone racing. That's really what makes the whole thing.
Absolutely fantastic. Ben Hicks taking second place here at the beautiful track of Valencia, and also taking a good haul of points back for Kyalami, our final round. Let's bring in our winner of our gold division, who was originally second place last weekend. Gonna be happy with this one. Let's have a chat to David Roth. David, welcome to the commentary box, and what a turn of events from last week. Finally getting the win over Miles Stone and clearing him by a good amount, finishing up in 7th position, right behind David Broschke and ahead of Martin Spritzer. How are you feeling after that?
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. But I put a lot of time in over the week to get to come to grips with this track, because I came into it with very minimal experience from 4 seasons ago, and I think all that time really paid off.
Now, the 488, how was it out on tyres? We do know that it gets a little bit hungry out there. Valencia, very aggressive to go and wear things down, and especially the battles that you remain stuck in. For the first half of the race, there was just no movement for you.
Yeah, I kind of got eaten alive at the start there, and I tried to stay ahead of Jens Nielsen as best I could. But I think doing so, I kind of ate my tires in that first stint. I was debating whether or not to stay out because I had clean air, but I just did not have the tires for it. I had to pit. This track likes to eat them. The 488's pretty good on tires, but around here, no, there was no way I could have made it happen. And I had that success penalty from last race to make up for, so losing the time on track is not ideal.
So that brings me to the next one. You had the success penalty, 10 seconds that you had to serve in the pit stop. What was the pit stop strategy? Was the original try go that little bit deeper, or did it change as the race went on?
Yeah, I put enough fuel in to do 40 minutes, and I wanted to stay out and then do the last stint with the best possible tires. You know, I didn't want any tire wear over that second stint. Just hot lap after hot lap. But yeah, at the end of that first one, probably about 30 minutes in, the tires were starting to go off, and I just couldn't keep the pace up. So I ended up pitting about halfway through.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. And I've got to point out, just a great race out for you. But how do you feel going into the final round? Kyalami, gonna be the big one for you, fighting it out for the championship in the gold division. It has been you and Miles through and through. He's ahead of you by 6 points. You've gone and taken that away from him this time. What's the game plan for the final round?
Oh man, yeah, going into the final round with a 15-second success penalty, that's gonna hurt. Honestly, just practice. I just got to be faster than him. There's no other way around it. If it's a full wet race, I know for a fact that the 488 can go an hour and a half on one set of tires. That might play into it, but with a mixed race, with unpredictable weather, I just have to be faster than him. There's no other way.
Give it everything you got to beat out the Mustang. What's going to be faster, the prancing horse, or is it going to be the mighty Mustang to chase down? David Roth, before I let you go and enjoy the celebrations, go and have some fun out there. I know the Indianapolis 500 is running, but anything you'd like to say to all the drivers, the teams, to all the partners and admin here at ERA, and most importantly, because I'm sure you saw it out there, our virtual fans out there in the virtual grandstands cheering you on.
Yeah, same thing as every week I'm up here, man. It's if you're thinking about joining, do it up, because this is a great group of people to race against. I always have a blast every time I'm on track. And this time last year, I was a bronze driver before Iron existed. And now, you know, we can take class wins in P7 overall.
So it's looking at the jump. David Roth hoping to get the win. And I'm looking forward to see the battle between Milestone and David Roth for the gold championship. Both of you are going to be really fighting out. Thank you very much, David Roth. in the 4-8.
Thank you, Stephen.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic stuff. And always fantastic to have a chat to our drivers. And what a race, ladies and gentlemen. What a time out for round 6 here at the beautiful track of Valencia, here for the Sunday ERA Championship. It has been a wild, wild ride through and through as we get closer and closer to the end of the season. Next week, Sunday, it is game time. It is all or nothing, mixed conditions. No one knows what's going on. 1st of June, we head out to Kailami. 90 minutes, 2 mandatory pit stops, championships on the line from our Diamond, Platinum, and Gold. And you can catch it all here at the ERA channel. Make sure you hit that like, make sure you hit that subscribe, hit the bell notification icon. Also, come join us down in the description. There's links for championships. We've also got the ERA Classic that is going to be running if you want to try something a little bit different and go and test your luck. If you're willing to learn a little bit, whether you're fast, whether you're slow, whether you're new, whether you're old, come and join us here at ERA. We always love to go and teach on new things and also pass the knowledge on. That's what we're all about here at ERA, and it's going to be a wild, wild ride. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, once again, absolutely fantastic to have you all. Keep warm, keep cool, and like always, from myself, Stephen Koenig, here in the THT box, I would like to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.